Joining me now, Elie Mystal, justice correspondent at The Nation, where he writes about the courts and the criminal justice system. He's also the author of Bad Law, 10 Popular Laws That Are Ruining America. Elie, thank you for writing this, first of all, because you are channeling what a lot of people, I'm sure, who write to you and who write to me are thinking. What can I do in this moment? It seems overwhelming.
You know, Ali, a lot of times I wrote that piece for me, too. I wrote that piece so I can remember as well, because it's easy to be hopeless. It's easy to give into despair at this point. I do it myself sometimes, but I always try to recenter myself and remind myself that there are lots of factors in play here, right? Like first of all, I remember that at some point I'm going to have grandchildren, and they are going to ask me, Granddad, Grandpap, what did you do when the bad men come? And what am I going to say to those kids? Right? What am I going to say to my future grandkids about what I did in this moment? The answer can't be nothing. The answer can't be, well, I voted against the bad guys and I got a real good tax break. Like, that can't be all I say when they ask me what I did. Right? So like, that's one thing that I use to like recenter and refocus and re-energize myself. The other thing that I try to remember is that I do not come from a defeated people. If people who looked like me back in the day gave up, gave in to despair, I'd still be out in a field somewhere, right? But people who had absolutely no chance of victory continued to push the rock and continued to fight. So what we are doing right now, what anybody who is listening to me is doing right now, is what you would have done at all of those great and evil points in history. What you're doing right now is what you would have done during Jim Crow. What you're doing right now is what you would have done during Pinochet or Hitler or Stalin or any of the other bad guys in history. What you're doing right now is what you would have done then. So who do you want to be?
So the question then becomes, because you're right, we are all inheritors of something here that our ancestors did not give us a right to give up on the fight, right? We some days like to get up and not have this fight, but that's what it is. It's here. Here's the issue. There is some degree of getting a little bit outside of your zone of comfort in order to do it. And I think there are people, good people of conscience in America, who are looking for a roadmap as to what that looks like. That doesn't mean getting arrested. But like those people in Cape May, they're going out there and they're consistent. For some people, it might mean getting arrested, or it might be showing up to protect people at protests so that the police don't arrest them. There are, or it could be like Brad Lander. There are lots of ways to do this.
Not everybody has the constitutional fortitude to be arrested. Not everybody has the constitutional fortitude to protest. And I'm not a big walker, all right? So I'm not really on the front lines of the marches all the time. That's not my highest, best use, right? But there are any number of small individual acts of kindness and help that can be useful right now. And I focus on kindness and help because that is exactly the thing that Trump and the bad people are taking away from us, right? The coarseness, the meanness of the administration means that actual acts of kindness turn out to be acts of resistance in this moment, right? So like, if you look, for instance, I think about this a lot, at the Trump administration's wholesale, disgusting bullying attack on LGBTQ kids, right? On trans kids, right? And so if you know one, be nice to that one. Right? If you know a trans kid in your kid's schools, make sure that kid gets invited to the birthday party or the bar mitzvah or whatever reindeer games you're playing. Make sure when that kid gets a hit in the big game, you're out there cheering just as loudly as their parents are, right? That's an act of kindness. Maybe you don't have the fortitude to stand up on the bridge, but when you drive by or when you walk by, you can hand out a bottle of water. You can say, good job. Thank you for keeping in the fight. I have been on both sides of that bridge. I have been on the bridge, hot, not that bridge, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Hot, sad, whatever. And when somebody comes by and says, good job, that's energizing. That's energizing for the people who are on the front lines, to reminding them that their work has value. So if you can be one of the energizers, even as you're walking by, that also helps. Some people have more skills. If you're a lawyer, you can be working right now in an immigration asylum situation. If you're a lawyer for one of the firms that has bent the knee to Trump, you could start your own immigration asylum program. Like, depending on your skill level, there are many things that you can do. Do something. Pick
something.
Something.
So
Do
there's an
not
energy
be
to it.
Silent in this moment.
I don't want to undermine the amazing organizational work that was done by various groups during the civil rights movement, but it was certainly an example in which the public was ahead of their own political leaders, and it feels like that's happening again. As it was with the Vietnam War, often the American public is further ahead than their leaders. But that energy is not just contagious to each other; it's the politicians who sit there and say, "Wow, look at that rally! Wow, look at that town hall meeting! Wow, look at how mad people are about this."
That's what's got to happen. Like right now, the Democratic Party is doing whatever they're doing. We, the people, have to lead the Democratic Party to where we want them to go, or find another party and lead them where we want them to go. Right? We have to be. Part of that article started from me looking online and seeing people despair about what's the point of calling your congressperson? They're not ignorant. They're evil. So why even bother to call them? I'm like, brother, what? Call all the time.
Yep.
Call all the time. Put them on speed dial. Make their constituent services person know you by first name, right? Because they actually respond to that. They actually respond when their constituents are angry and upset and motivated about them. That's how you lead politicians. It's not just with a trail of RVs and special gifts. Sometimes just getting up in their faces is enough. And then you make the good point that about getting out of your comfort zone. Sometimes this requires being impolite, right? I'm not necessarily a person that wants to have a shouting match on the subway or get into an argument with an Uber driver, but I will. Right now, if I'm in an Uber and they're putting on, state propaganda TV, I will be like, turn that mess off, please, sir. And here are 10 reasons why. It's not something I like doing, but it's something that I have to do in this moment, right? So yeah, you do have to get a little bit outside of the things that are comfortable, because that's the other thing that fascists and authoritarians use: your own desire for comfort, your own desire for normalcy. You, in your mind, make these abnormal things normal because you just want to get about your day. And that also is what you have to fight against. They want you to be comfortable, be uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable all the times. They want you to find ways of coping, find ways of making it all seem okay. And it's not okay. And we just have to live in this moment where it's not okay.
Elie, I thank you for the important column and for you being here this morning. Elie Mystal is justice correspondent for The Nation. He's the author of Bad Law, 10 Popular Laws That Are Ruining America.